Hi there, welcome to No Nonsense Whiskey. My name is VinPF, and on today's episode we're going back to Heroes and Heretics to check out one of their latest releases, and this is the Discipulus, aged 13 years, from Macduff. And it's worth saying at the top of the show, of course, these guys sent me this bottle over for review, so this video is entirely based on a free bottle, but as you guys should know by now, I say everything that is on my mind with these bottles. Nothing is off the table, and in no way, shape or form do the brands ever get to say anything about what I say or how I release these videos. So it's just a free bottle. Hopefully you're all okay with that. If not, I understand. It's just one of those things. Let's get back over to this bottle and see what we've got then. So this is actually the second release from the Disciples. Kind of nifty looking label here. They've got a kind of few different brand names going under the Heroes and Heretics range. Disciples is just one of them. Obviously they've got the Smoke and Glory, etc. This one here, as I said earlier, is the Macduff Distillery, aged 13 years. I think that's kind of interesting because, oddly, usually, okay, I'm going sort of a bit of weird history story here, but usually what happens when you've got a kind of a normal distillery who wants to kind of do some independent bottling stuff, or should I say people coming to buy independently bottled stuff from them, sometimes they would change the name of it so that you know, Croft and Gere is a great example, like they did one from Loch Lomond, which is Croft and Gere. Very rarely do you see it the other way around, which is what this is. So Macduff Distillery, you might not have heard of them at all. They fly very much under the radar. They've been around since the 60s, but it's mostly for blends. Anything that comes out from the distillery, by the distillery, bottled by them, you know, OB as they say, it comes under either the Devron or Glen Devron, something like that, which is strange. You know, it seems strange they wouldn't just put it out there. But in any case, when that distillery has been independently bottled, it's Macduff, which is what this is. So there you go. It's not overly rare to see this bottled. You know, if you look on like Master of Malt, whatnot, you can find other Macduffs right now. So it's definitely available. It's not super rare, but it's not something that's really out there very often. You do have to look for it if you want to get hold of these things. So it's cool to try it. I've never tried anything that's been bottled under Macduff before I had this bottle, and I've only really tried a few samples of the Devron, Glen Devron, whatever. Never owned a bottle of it, so it's a distillery that's definitely flown underneath my radar. You may know more about it yourselves, but you know, this is coming from a perspective of someone who doesn't really know about the distillery much other than the research I've done for this video. Because I do a little bit of research, not too much, just a little bit. So yeah, the Macduff Distillery, and then this one here is a single cask in a ex-sherry hogshead. A few key pieces of information as well. 54%, we like that. Again, single cask. This is a 13-year-old, and there's 276 bottles of this. There's also a cask number if you care about that. I'll read that out if you care. 900225. There you go. So we're talking about something that's fairly sherried, let's say. Not sure about any more details on the cask than just that. It's just this hogshead. Other than that, I say let's get into the whiskey and see what we've got. We can talk about colour because, as with all of these guys' bottlings, it's no added colour, non-chill filtration, all things that we like. So, yeah, I mean, it isn't like a super dark sherry kind of colour to it, which is good. I like that. That probably leads me to think I don't know. I don't know what kind of sherry would have been in this. I don't even know if it was kind of first fill or anything, but I'm okay with that because you guys know I don't really vibe off that really heavily sherried whiskey anymore. Although every time I say something like that, there's a whiskey comes along that really disproves that. But that's what I like about whiskey. Always challenges your misconceptions, and if you have misconceptions, or as you may think they are conceptions, challenge them. You know, try and find a whiskey that breaks whatever you think. If you don't like peat, find something that breaks that, because I guarantee it's out there. In any case, let's get onto the nose and see what we've got, shall we? Okay, so it's undeniably a sherried whiskey, but it isn't too heavy on any of those notes whatsoever. Very rich, kind of, I always talk about things like dried fruits, so things like raisins, sultanas. But along with that, there's an unmistakable kind of brininess to this, kind of sea salty vibe about it, which I really like. I really like a kind of sea salty vibe in all whiskies that have it. Let's try on the palate. Okay. Well, there's a lot going on. It's huge. First thing that comes across is the kind of big, juicy, sherry type notes that you would get, those kind of raisins, sultanas, those dried fruits again. Followed swiftly by a really kind of sweet. My tasting notes down here have been saying to me like a toffee fudge, but I think it's erring more on the kind of treacly side of things. This is me changing my own tasting notes on the fly. And that's exactly what this dram is. It's kind of like big and bold and ever-changing. And then at the back end, that saltiness comes through again, and it's kind of like a salted caramelly vibe on the back end. So you kind of get with where I'm going with that. It's sweet, but not overly sweet. The sea salty vibe really brings back that sweetness. If you ever tried like salted caramel, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The finish is big. It's big, bold. The juiciness disappears off fairly quickly, but is replaced with a really nice spiciness and almost kind of like a eucalyptusy vibe on the back end. I'm going to have another little sip here while I mull it over. Yeah, I mean, a really tasty dram. Really tasty dram. That brings me neatly onto the kind of price summary almost. So this is, if memory serves, I mean, it's definitely the most expensive bottle that HAH sell right now. At £110 on their website, or if you're looking on Master and Malt, it's £109.95, so, you know, same difference. But I think it might be the most expensive one they've sold so far, but I'm not sure. There might have been something more expensive, but it's up there. It's up there. That said, as with every single time, and whenever I cover these guys, I always say the same sort of thing. It's unapologetically expensive. It's not too expensive. You know, if you look at the other Macduffs on the market right now, there are some cheaper ones, there are some more expensive ones, there's some higher aged ones, some lower aged ones. You know, it's hard to kind of pigeonhole yourselves in something like that. But if you couple with the kind of single cask, the 18 years, the sherry cask, the 54%, it all kind of comes together. On a personal level, as much as I really enjoy this, I don't think I would stretch to it, but that's only because I very, very, very rarely spend £110 on a bottle, and if it weren't for the fact of them sending me this, I don't think I'd have bought it, and I probably wouldn't spend that sort of money on it again. But I don't want that to detract from anyone who's a fan of this sort of thing. And that's really what these guys are after. You know, the kind of target audience, I guess, is people that are really into those really interesting, slightly more premium whiskies than you would get elsewhere. You know, if you're asking me on a personal level, HAH, I've never heard of them before, which one should I go for? Then you should check out, I think probably the 48 is a great example to start with. And anything, you know, as with all independent bottlers, if you see a distillery that you know you like, get that from that independent bottler if they've got it available. So for instance, me, I love the Smoke and Glory stuff. That stuff's expensive as well, but that's on point. That is super, super good. Yeah, I'm kind of rambling on about the price a little bit, but yeah, it's probably just a little bit too expensive for me on a personal level from a whiskey drinker's point of view. But from an enjoyment point of view, it's pretty damn good. I can't deny that. It's such a good whiskey. And to have a sherried whiskey that I like is, again, challenging those misconceptions. I would probably have discounted this entirely just because it had sherry hogshead on the label, but it's one of those things. I'll say cheers to you, and hopefully, if you're into that sort of thing, you'll go and check them out. If not, just go and check out HAH anyway and see what else they've got on their shop. Always good stuff there. I'll catch you again on more No Nonsense Whiskey videos.